If you want to know that a government is completely out of touch with what their people are really going through, then a good example is the latest statement from UDA politician Senator Samson Cherargei. You know, the online community in Kenya right now is on fire. People are annoyed. People are upset. They don't want to hear anything about this government. So in defense, Senator Cherargei has told Kenyans, relax, give Ruto a little time. He will miraculously cause the economy to recover. Pop! Just like that. Give Ruto time. Now you know, in this life, there is something which you can say which can provoke people further. And this is the perfect example. Because this is exactly the same situation as that in a family where they have gone without any food for 1 or 2 days. And then somebody comes and tells those children, give your father a little more time. Everything is going to be okay. You're going to eat and be full. Yeah? But give your father a little time. How does that work? Tumbo kweli nangoja. It seems that the UDA government is of the opinion that this stomach, this tummy, can be switched off temporarily. Kenyans, switch off your tummies, yeah, and give Ruto time. Meanwhile, ikizidi, kula airburger na ukunywe maji kama hiyo maji itapatikana. And then yet another government official, Cabinet Secretary Trade, a man called Moses Kuria, has told Kenyans, let me tell you the truth. Yeah? The price of petrol is not going down. And don't forget that El Nino is coming in 3 weeks. What is Kuria really telling Kenyans? To give up? What? My apologies for laughing. But I've always said laughter is the best medicine because it prevents me from breaking down into tears. Imagine a big old man like me crying. Imagine that. I don't want that. So to avoid it, I laugh. My apologies. This is very serious. And I'm sure most of you caught the remarks of the CS Energy, a man called Chirchir, yeah, and his other colleague, both from the Rift Valley, telling members of parliament that fuel prices are not coming down anytime soon. In fact, they'll continue to climb and climb and climb. And what is more, there is nothing the government can do about it. I'm sure you caught that statement. If there's anybody who thought that those of us who are talking about an economic Armageddon in Kenya, those who thought we were exaggerating, if there were any people like that, they are now fully convinced that I was not exaggerating. The media is not exaggerating. This is not propaganda. It is real news. The harsh reality in Kenya. And while the calling of this channel is to analyze the situation in Kenya very deeply, to analyze politics very deeply, and of course when doing something like that, you cannot avoid to criticize and point out the big blunders this government is making, which are very, very painful to Kenyans across the country. While that is all true, I also believe that the calling of this channel is also to analyze and help people out of a crisis. And this is the main reason why I have made this video today. And on my show today, we will talk about Kenyans who are still okay. They don't have a problem. They're surviving. And they have the capacity to survive through this thing, however long it takes. And then there are those Kenyans who have not yet been hit properly. by what is unfolding in Kenya. Not yet, but they'll be hit shortly. And then of course there is the vast majority who are already into it very deeply. Okay, they're already in serious trouble. Now my humble advice, if you're still doing okay, and it doesn't matter where in the world you are, I would strongly recommend that you plan ahead, because I believe that what is unfolding is global. We're entering a global economic meltdown. Of course, the situation has been made worse by the policies of the UDA Kenya Kwanza government. Things are much worse in Kenya than they should be. That is true. But the economic troubles are global. And what that means, in simple terms, is no matter what your current situation is, this thing is going to ultimately hit you, whoever you are. And believe it or not, even if you have a huge nest egg somewhere, finances stored up somewhere, that can take you through 10 years, you will still be hit. Trust me. Now, of course, I'll not stop making my hard-hitting videos, exposing the so-called Kenya Kwanza government for what it really is. I won't stop that. But today, I would like us to think a little differently for our own good, okay, going forward. And even if you're already down and out for the count, don't worry. You're also included in this discussion we're about to have. A very important discussion. And we must start by acknowledging that no government is going to help you. At this juncture, no magic new government policy is going to help us. No way. Even when Raila Amolo Odinga regains his stolen victory and comes to power, he will not be able to do magic immediately. Bottom line, we are on our own, and we must figure out a way to survive, and if possible prosper, through these very dark days that we've entered and are stretching very far into the distance. We can't see light at the end of the tunnel, at least not yet. We must figure out a way to survive, and if possible, to thrive. And I have a few ideas, and I'm very confident that these ideas will really help most of us. And of course, they are plucked out of my landmark documentary on how to prosper in a dead economy. Let us get into the nitty-gritty of it, into details of what you can actually do. And stay with me. I have the hottest tip right at the end of my show today. Don't miss it for anything. Right! So why should any sane person talk about making money in an economy where there's no money? Only a nutcase would do that, right? Actually, wrong. Because history has repeatedly shown us that the best time to make some serious money is when the economy is suffering. And the more the economy is suffering, the better your chances of making some serious money. To date, the American Great Depression of the 1930s still holds the record of producing the highest number of self-made millionaires ever in the history of the United States. People like this guy who produced the game of Monopoly, which somehow made people feel great, because it involved handling dollar bills, which in real life in those days, they were not able to handle much. Okay, I understand you. Facts are great. But what does one do faced with the harsh realities of no money? People on this channel are always talking about how my videos have changed their lives. But folks, this is the real deal. And what is more, there are no theories here, only very practical stuff. Let me just give you one example of what I mean. If you've ever lived in a foreign country, you know how difficult it is for a foreigner to start a business, even a small business. Well, I was once stuck in a foreign country with no money, and I successfully started a business. And what's more, and I believe very important, without breaking any of the laws of that country. It can be done. Yeah, and people often make the big mistake of assuming that the most important component in a successful business is money. It isn't. It is simply a well thought out ideal idea coupled with a brilliant way of finding customers quickly and cheaply. That's it. My amazing documentary will hold your hand and help you find the ideal idea for where you are right now, even if it's your own country, going through perhaps the most difficult economic times in its history. I want you to change your mindset right now and decide that every time you see the word problem, every time you see a news item with a problem, a serious problem people are facing, replace that word problem with the word opportunity. In my documentary, I not only tell you precisely how to do this, I give you practical, real life examples of how it was done before, or how it has been done before by many, some of whom I helped and some of whom have never met me. By far the biggest and most common mistake those who want to make money make is to start a business. Oh yes, you heard me right. If you want to make money, the last thing to do is to start a business. It is an even bigger mistake in a gloomy economy. I get very surprised and indeed perplexed that people are ready to go through a learning process when they go to school, when they pursue their degree, but they're not willing to go through a learning process when they launch a money-making venture. They expect it to work like magic. Yeah, they expect to be successful the first time. They don't expect any obstacles. Yeah, they expect everything to go like clockwork. And when it doesn't, they get very disappointed and they give up quickly. And they say something like, Nimerogwa, I've been cursed, I will never succeed in business, etc., etc. Why don't you say the same thing when you start a new course and the first lesson is so hard you don't understand? Why don't you just give up and say, Umerogwa, you'll never finish the course? Change your approach today. And when you start that new money-making venture, think of it as a new course, a period of careful study by yourself, where you expect to learn new things. And of course, we all know education is very expensive. And I cannot emphasize enough, education, practical business education, or practical education on how to make money is extremely expensive. When the economy was booming, it was easy to raise the funds to start a business. Now that things are so bad, it is very difficult to come up with the money to set up a business. And this forces you to use the technique which we have been discussing here. You approach it in a different way, with the bare minimum. You start with the bare bones of that money-making operation you have in mind. You'll flesh it out later. Or you could permanently continue with your low-cost approach to make money. And so let's jump straight into the meat of this particular documentary. Opportunities in a gloomy economy and exactly what to do. Now, it is common knowledge when things are bad, companies will start laying off people. What they're actually doing is reducing their capacity to serve customers. For instance, if before they were serving 50,000 customers a month, they're reducing their capacity to something like 10,000 customers a month. Quite naturally, to reduce their costs as a business and to keep operating through the hard times, to keep the business afloat. Now, this in itself opens up very, very many opportunities all over the place. For example, that van salesman and the van that was going all over the rural, remote areas distributing detergent, now, because of the recession, no longer exists. The van has been grounded, maybe even sold off, and the van salesman is out of a job because the company made a decision to focus on where most of the customers are, near a city, near Nairobi and its environs, where it is much cheaper to distribute their products. Maybe they decided to distribute their products, to sell their products only to wholesalers, which cut down their costs dramatically, but it also left a huge chunk of their market unsupplied. Now, the best way to identify these opportunities is to look for problems around you. Train yourself to pay close attention to what is happening around you. There's yet another place to look for opportunities in a gloomy economy. You will always find that there are a lot of people stuck with a lot of products. They are stuck with stock they cannot sell. Now, chances are that right now you're feeling overwhelmed. I've given you many ideas, yes. You're very excited, yes. But you don't know where to start. Your mind is not trained to look for these problems and opportunities. Relax. There is a very simple solution. Still waiting for something to happen and not doing anything about it are going to have a very difficult. I highly recommend that you don't waste any time in making this investment that will make all the difference. And as promised at the beginning of my show today, here is the hottest, most important tip of them all. And it is very simple. Follow the money. Even if you've already come up with the perfect idea to do something, check the money first. Is there money in that sector? And if you can't find the money, find somebody to sponsor your solving of the problem. Somebody else can sponsor the whole project. We have NGOs who have funds focused on specific areas, very specific areas. It will not take a lot of research to find which ones are relevant to what you're doing. Now, of course, I would highly recommend that you take in the full set of videos on how to survive and even possibly thrive in a dead economy, like what we have in Kenya today, and indeed what many other countries are slowly sinking into. It's only that in Kenya, we were thrown into the pit very early by Kenya Kwanza government policies, which are completely blind to the situation that is facing Kenyans, a vast majority of Kenyans right now. They're completely blind to the season we have entered. They're completely blind to the circumstances of everybody. Indeed, we were just thrown under the bus and left there. That's what has happened. But the truth is, this thing is everywhere. And shortly, even those who have been less affected will be more greatly affected. That is the reality. And that is why, in my humble opinion, this documentary I produced in 2019 is critical, is very useful, and I dare say can make all the difference. Now, initially when it was released, the price was $54, but now I have the special offer where you can get the complete set, including 3 valuable ebooks. The ebooks are very important because after you take in the video, the ebooks are going to be critical in helping you to immediately take action, to take the next step. Because if you have information and you're not using it, it's useless. If you have knowledge and you're not using it, it's useless. So action is very important. Those ebooks are critical in helping you take action very quickly. They're also critical in helping you to focus so that you don't get confused. Because maybe in your excitement at all the information contained in this documentary, it is also possible that you'll start feeling overwhelmed. You don't know where to start. The ebooks play a critical part in that. And the whole package is available for only $39 or Kenya shillings 3,900. You can see details on your screens right now. Kindly do not procrastinate. Don't postpone this any further. Take action now. Folks, my dear friends, we cannot afford to give up. We need to act. We must do something. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.